Hello, 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 and welcome everybody to Math on a Wonderful Tuesday. The dividing fractions journey continues, and really, this is kind of like the wrap-up or the last unknown piece, right? Dividing fractions part 4 today. Something to write on, something to write with is what you're going to need. Down here, I can define inverse operation. I can write a multiplication equation that is the inverse of a given division equation, and I can use inverse operations to solve for an unknown in a fractions division equation. Yesterday, we talked about how to use the flip the divisor and then multiply shortcut for dividing fractions. We're going to talk about another shortcut today, a visual shortcut. Now, let's consider, if you will, this problem here, 55 divided by 5/6. And if we were to use our shortcut from last time, 55 stays, our dividend stays. We're going to change to our inverse operation of multiplication, and we are going to flip the positioning of our divisor. Now we're doing 55 times 6/5. But here's the thing, I'm feeling pretty lazy today, and doing 55 times 6, oh, it feels like a lot of work. Like I can do it, like I'm really good at math, but then I gotta get like an area model out, I gotta do partial products, I gotta add up the totals. No, there's a quicker way. And let's think about this, and let's back up for just a second. Because let's consider our original problem here. 55 divided by 5/6 equals n, right? Now, let's consider this. And remember that in this equation, what we're saying is 55, we're taking the value of 55 and putting that into 5/6 of a group. And we want to know what the value of one whole group is. So let's draw it out. I'm going to draw my fractions bar. The whole thing is n, right? One group is n. I'm going to divide it into sixths. And I know that 5 of those sixths, I'm going to take my 55, I'm going to put that into 5 of my sixths. Okay? Now here's the nice thing about this. 55 divides evenly into 5 pieces. So we can figure out what each of these sixths equals. 55 divided by 5, or 50 divided by 5 plus 5 divided by 5, right? Equals 11. So we know that there are 11 in each one of these 5/6. So, stands to reason, because they're equal groups, there's also 11 here. So, what does n equal? What's the value of our whole thing? Is just 11 times 6, or 66. So in this case, n equals 66. Okay? The shortcut comes in. If you're looking at a division equation, before you've done the flip and then multiply shortcut, before you've done that, when you look at your division equation and you see that the numerator is a factor of our whole dividend, or our dividend is a multiple of our factor, right? Then we know if our dividend is a multiple of our numerator, we can see, oh, 55 goes into 5 evenly. So I can draw it out, divide 55 by 5. That lets me know what the rest of my fractions equal and lets me know the total faster. Similarly, with a problem like this one, let's take, let's see, what can't we do? We can't do, well, we couldn't do something like this, right? We know immediately, because 19 is a prime number, that that's not going to work, right? Because the only factors of 19 are 1 and 19. So that visual shortcut doesn't help us here. But what about something like 32 divided by 4/7. Right? Take a look at our 32. Does our 32 divide evenly by 4? Yeah, it does, right? If we were to draw out our fractions bar with 7 pieces, 4 of those pieces are going to equal 32. We're saying essentially 32, our value of 32 is going in 4/7 of a group. So here's our 4/7 of that group. What does the whole group, what does one whole group equal? Okay, so in this case, 32 divided by 4, or 4 times what is 32? Yeah, there's 8. 8 in each. So that tells us there are 8 in each 7th. So what does the whole thing equal? 8 times 7, 56. Okay, it's a lot easier and a lot quicker for me, and a lot kind of clearer to see than doing the, well, I'm going to flip it and do 32 times 7 and then divide that whole thing by 4. You're also going to come out with 56. But now you don't have to do 32 times 7, and then you don't have to do 224 divided by 4, right? This is faster. So be looking for that if you have a problem like this one that's a whole number times a fraction, where the dividend divides evenly into the numerator. That tells you you can use this visual shortcut. Now we're going to move on to, we're actually going to move on to our digital whiteboard. We're going to move on to fraction divided by fraction. Okay, not as tricky as it sounds. Okay, because we know how to multiply a fraction times a fraction, and we know our shortcut of flip the divisor and then multiply. So we can find an answer here. So let's go to our digital whiteboard and let's take one, let's take one that's got kind of a, let's take one that's got some small numerators and denominators here. Let's not stretch ourselves too quickly. Let's do 2/3 times divided by 3/5. Okay, what we're essentially saying here, and I'll draw it out in 2/3. We're going to take our value of 2/3 and that's going to be 3/5 of n. Okay, right? A little harder to use a visual model on that one because then you're doing 2/3 divided by 3, and what, you know, the whole thing, and you got to make some denominator, change the denominator. It's a lot, okay? But visually, that's what we're looking at. And this gives us also an idea of reasonableness, right? 2/3, you know, somewhere close, or excuse me, 3/5, 1, 2, 3/5, that's somewhere in the ballpark of half, right? A little more than half. So if 2/3 is a little bit of more than half of what we've got, then our answer is going to end up somewhere in the ballpark of what's 2/3 plus 2/3, right? 4/3, somewhere a little bit less than 4/3, right? That gives us our target, our reasonableness target. But let's use our flip and then multiply. Let me get rid of this. Let's use our flip and multiply shortcut here. So we're going to keep our dividend, keep our 2/3, keep that first number. Our division becomes multiplication. And then we flip the divisor. So now we're doing, instead of 2/3 divided by 3/5, we're doing 2/3 times 5/3. And we can multiply straight across. 2 times 5 is 10. 3 times 3 is 9, giving us a total of 10/9. And is that close to our estimate of a little less than 1 1/3? Yeah, it's 1 1/9, right? 10/9 equals 9/9, or 1 plus 1 more ninth. So 1 1/9, that's a little less than 1/3. I feel good about that answer. Okay, let us try one more before we get going. Because again, this concept is pretty simple when we're using this shortcut, but I am going to go ahead and draw the visual model every time just to give us a sense of what we're looking at here. So let's try 7/8 times 3/4. Okay, equals n. And again, right? So our 3/4, that tells us what we're putting that group into. So we're going to make our fractions bar fourths. And then 3 of those fourths equals the quantity of 7/8. Right? Now, this is kind of conceptually where it gets tricky, right? Because in this case, 7/8, that's a quantity, right? 7/8 of a cup, 7/8 of a bag of M&Ms, right? And then our 3/4, that's a ratio of the whole, right? 3/4 of n. But they look the same. That's where fractions get tricky, is sometimes they can be a quantity, sometimes they can be a ratio, sometimes they can be being able to say like 3/4 of 7/8, right? Where in this case, the 3/4 is the ratio, 7/8 is the quantity. So, oh, goodness gracious. What are you doing there? That's a division. Whew, my gosh. I spent all that time explaining it and didn't even write the right operation. Mistakes happen. 7/8 divided by 3/4. Gosh, guys. Sorry, I'm going to give you a second. Fix your papers. I led you astray. My model's right. I just wrote the wrong sign up there. My bad. 7/8 divided by 3/4. Okay? Basically saying, you know, that bit equals 7/8. So what does the whole thing equal? Okay? Estimating, again, it's probably going to be around 1 whole, right? A little bit more than that, maybe. Just an estimate. So now, let's do our, once I trash that, perfect, whoops, come on back down here. There we go. Sorry if you got car sick from all that movement. All right, so now keep your dividend, change this to a multiply, and flip your divisor. Now multiply straight across. Seven times 4, 28. 8 times 3, 24. So 28 24ths. And let's go ahead and simplify that. I know we can make 1 with 24 24ths. And that leaves us with 4 24ths left. All right, I've subtracted those 24 24ths out in order to regroup them as 1. And I'm left with 4 24ths that don't fit in that whole 1. And I know that both 4 and 24 are divisible by 4. So I can use a equivalent of 1 there. 4 divided by 4 is 1. And 24 divided by 4 is 6. So it equals 1 and 1/6 as our final answer. And our estimation was close, right? We said a little bit more than 1. And that looks about right. Okay. On your exit tickets today, you're going to have a number of fraction divided by fraction equations. Okay, so remember, practicing that is kind of efficient shortcut of flip your divisor and then multiply in order to get your answer. And also, I encourage you to practice drawing those models, right? So starting with your division equation, looking at your divisor, looking at that second fraction, the one that you're going to flip, the one to the right of the division sign, okay? Drawing out our fraction bar with that many pieces in the denominator, okay? And using our numerator to say, okay, how many pieces is my 7/8 or my dividend worth? Okay? Doing both is going to be helpful because, again, like we said, with that visual shortcut at the beginning, getting a chance to practice drawing out that visual model will help you when that shortcut is a little bit easier. All right? Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. Tacos, you have Math Office Hour at 11 o'clock. I do encourage you to come if you have questions on this or if you want some practice problems. We had people in yesterday that were just like, throw some extra problems at me because I'm done with the exit ticket. I love that. I will give you as many practice problems as you want on whatever concept you want. You want to do some more whole number divided by fraction work? Let's do it. You want to do some 2-digit by 3-digit multiplication? Sure. You want to do some long division using the standard algorithm? Heck yes, let's do it. Okay? But you've got to get to the Zoom room in order to make it happen. Otherwise, it's harder for me to communicate. I don't have a carrier pigeon to give you math problems at your house unless you get on the Zoom. All right. Thanks, y'all, for tuning in. I will see you soon.